Have you ever imagined losing everything in one night? In the midst of the flames of pain, our protagonist is forced to start over from scratch, carrying wounds that few would dare to face. But believe me, this story of overcoming goes far beyond initial despair. Dip this impactful plot. Subscribe now on the channel and leave your like to not lose any details of this journey. The night was silent in the small town of Aurora, where Helena, Andre, and their daughter Melissa lived. That summer night was particularly captivating, with a light breeze involving the garden that the family took carefully. The house, of light walls and a clay-colored roof, resembled a cozy shelter, lit by yellow lamps hanging from the yard trees. It looked like the perfect setting for an outdoor dinner, amid the soft heat that promised a special night. Helena, in the kitchen, prepared the meal with the same zeal she dedicated to everything she loved. Meanwhile, Andre was outside, helping little Melissa playing on the balance sheet attached to a leafy tree. The crystalline laughter of the girl echoed as music for Helena, who smiled when he heard her husband's voice mingling with her daughter's fun shouts. "Look at me, Daddy. I'm flying loudly," shouted Melissa, her eyes shining with adrenaline. Curious, Helena dropped the utensils for a moment and went to the kitchen door, admiring the scene with a warm smile. "Are you having fun, my angel? Dad is the best," Melissa answered, giggling that heated Helena's heart. As the family was preparing to sit at the table, a dark cloud was forming on the horizon. The night, which promised to be simply charming, gained threatening contours without them realizing. The once subtle wind began to blow more vigorously, bringing a sense of restlessness in the air. Suddenly, what began as a distant noise became a furious crash. Without any warning, a bright flare came on the side of the house, quickly spreading unbearable heat throughout the structure. Helena was the first to notice the orange flash reflected in the window. His heart fired when he saw the flames devouring the lamps around. "Andre!" she shouted, her panic, embargoed voice. "Fire! There is fire here!" The desperate warning made Andre run inside, finding Helena pale, eyes full of terror. "My love, what happened?" he asked, still without seeing the size of the problem, although he already did the worst. "The fire is spreading," he answered Helena, her voice shaking. "We need to leave immediately." Melissa, scared, had a fixed look at the flames. The children's face was wet with tears. Andre raised her in his arms and asked Helena to go ahead. She ran out to the main door, while the dark, dense smoke took the corridors, making the air almost breathable. The flames advanced with fury, producing a deafening roar. Alarmed by the screams and reddish flash, the neighbors came to help, but the fire seemed unstoppable. Firefighters, when they arrived, came across a chaotic scenario, the fire roaring loudly, consuming the family home. "May they get out in time, please," Helena murmured, his face stained with tears as he waited outside that Andre and Melissa escaped. However, the hell of flames increased without respite. The firefighters' efforts seemed unable to beat the flames, who insisted on turning everything into ashes. Desperation took over Helena as time passed. When finally the fire was controlled, what was left of the place was just a pile of steaming wreckage. The firefighters' announcement was a deadly blow to Helena's heart. Andre and Melissa had not been able to escape. Flawless, Helena fell to her knees between the charred debris of everything that once had her happy life. The certainty that he needed to abandon the city dominated her. It was unbearable to stay there, where each corner remembered a past that would never come back. Then he gathered the little strength that was left and left Aurora behind, seeking refuge in a remote place, hoping to escape such pain. The trip to an isolated rural village brought to Helena a mix of relief and uncertainty. From the tortuous roads, she reached a place where the passage of time followed her own, more compassionate rhythm, and nature erected sovereign, offering the chance of a fresh start. The simple house that rented on the border of the village was a modest cabin, surrounded by a half-disarmed but inviting garden. It seemed perfect for those who needed to recover and at the same time hide from the memories that haunted it. At first, Helena's adaptation was marked by both village serenity and financial difficulties. Looking for something to do, he found a job in a small sewing workshop located in the center. It was a simple work, but it worked as an occupation for the mind and a form of subsistence. His hands, which had already created delicate pieces to wear Andre and Melissa, now focused on clothes for the locals. At each point, he found a modest relief, as if each sewing were a patch applied to his own internal wounds. The inhabitants of the village were hospitable. They greeted her with cordial gestures and sincere smiles. He felt a certain tenderness in the way people received it, offering friendly conversations that helped slow the isolation they carried in the heart. The workshop owner, Donna Zelia, was especially welcoming. "If you need something, my daughter, just look for me. Here everyone helps each other. We are like a family." As much as he struggled, Helena still lived under the weight of the tragedy, trying to find some breath of hope in the midst of the silence of the nights and the repetitive routine of the days. More than ever, he felt the void left by the absence of Andre and Melissa. Everything, from the color of sunset to the noise of the wind, seemed to remind him of what he had lost. One morning, while working concentrated in a coat, Helena heard a low cry from the street. Intrigued, he approached the window and spotted a little girl with tangled hair, walking aimlessly. The expression of despair in the child's face broke Helena's heart, which immediately went to her. "Hello, little," said Helena softly. What there was. The girl lifted her eyes, which were red from crying so much. "I am hungry. My mom left me here and didn't come back." The past came to light in Helena's mind. She knew what it was like to lose someone, although the circumstances were different. Without hesitation, it offered help. "Come with me, I will give you something to eat." The girl, though suspicious, accepted. In the workshop, Helena improvised a simple but nutritious meal. As the little girl fed, she said that her name was Camilla and that she had no idea where her mother could be. Solitude transparent in every word, and Helena felt an immediate empathy, almost instinctive. After listening carefully to Camilla's story, Helena made a decision that would change everything. "Stay with me if you want. I don't have much, but there is room in my house, and I can't stand to think of you abandoned." Camilla, surprised, seemed hesitated, but the possibility of having a roof and a hot meal was stronger than fear. With his eyes still damp, he murmured, "Would you do that for me?" "Yes," Helena replied, offering a comforting smile. "I know what it's like to feel alone. We can move on together." And so Camilla started living with Helena, starting a new chapter in their lives. In the tranquility of that village, the girl found a safe haven, and Helena, finally, found a purpose that softened the sadness of her loss. Without great luxuries, but full of affection, the two built a sincere and companionship routine. And gradually, between the seams and the lessons of everyday life, Helena smiled again, finding that pain can give way to hope. Time advanced in a soft way. With every change season, something also turned into Helena and Camilla. That fragile little girl gradually flourished like a well-groomed seedling. It was gaining body, color, and above all, confidence. Helena, in turn, found in Care the girl a source of energy she had not had since tragedy. Helena's mornings were divided between the sewing workshop and homework. In the afternoon, he strove to teach Camilla to read and write, using some old books borrowed from the local library. Each little achievement, a letter designed correctly, a deciphered syllable, was a source of celebration. For Helena, realizing Camilla's development was like watching the blossom of a rare flower that required attention, patience, and much affection. On a quiet night, as Helena prepared a stew in the kitchen, Camilla entered with her eyes shining with excitement. "Aunt Helena, I learned to draw something new. Can I show?" "Of course, honey. I'm looking forward to seeing." Camilla ran to the table from where she took a crushed sheet and some pencils. With a shy look, he revealed a children's drawing, a little house surrounded by flowers and two human figures holding hands. "This one is you, and this is me," he explained, pointing to the colorful characters. "I did to thank you for everything." Helena felt a knot in her throat and, with her emotions, stroked Camilla's hair. "It's beautiful, Camilla. I'll keep it forever, okay?" Time continued, and the two established a modest but full of companionship life. Camilla was growing up, And although Helena did everything to protect her, some unpleasant situations still occurred. Part of the village children, curious or cruel, sometimes made jokes about how it would have arisen nowhere. They were malicious comments, one that leaves deep marks. "I can't take it anymore, Aunt," Camilla said once, holding her tears. "They say I don't have a real family. They say I will never belong anywhere." Helena wrapped her in a warm hug. "What others say does not always reflect the truth. You are very special to me. Do not let their ignorance keep you from dreaming." Camilla, wiping her face, demonstrated a flash of hope. "I wanted to see the world get out of this place. Maybe so I can find what I am looking for." With a heavy heart, Helena understood Camilla's desire for something larger than the borders of the village. "If it's what you really want, I'll support you. Even if you give me to see you leave, the most important is your happiness." With this hanging conversation in the air, Camilla was distancing himself. He spent more time with new friends, people who came from outside or who visited neighboring regions, envisioned opportunities beyond the modest horizons of that place. Finally, on a slightly cloudy morning, Camilla approached Helena, determined. "I decided, I'm going to the capital. There, they say there are infinite chances of working, studying, and growing. I want to see if my dreams have room to come true." Helena, although sadness consumed her, tried to show confidence. "I'll miss you so much, but I understand you need to go. I just ask you to promise to send news. And remember me." Camilla hugged Helena, both drowned in tears, but united by the certainty that this was the necessary step. Before leaving, Helena handed her a necklace with a simple pendant, a small amulet that symbolized the affection that connected them. "Take this to you. When you think of me, remember that you will always have a home here." And then, the girl who had reached the village without anything came out for everything. Helena stayed, with the house again silent, but with a heart full of pride and discreet hope that one day Camilla came back. Sewing routine, household chores, and occasional conversations with neighbors occupied the hours, but nothing filled the emptiness left by Camilla's departure. The years passed, softening part of the scars, but never erasing what they meant. Helena was still firm in her routine, although Camilla's longing was permanent. Summer brought an oppressive heat, remembering Helena from past times. One day, while buying vegetables at the grocery store, he heard whispers. "I learned that Camilla is doing very well in the capital. They say she got a job in a chic store, huh?" Helena stopped stirring the fruits, the accelerated heart. He had heard almost nothing of Camilla since his departure, knowing that it was well caused a mix of relief and curiosity. A few days later, a letter arrived. It was from Camilla. With trembling hands, Helena opened her. "My dear Aunt Helena, I hope you are well. Here everything is intense and grand. I got a job in a luxury boutique and sometimes seems to live in another world, but I feel a void that I can't explain. I think I miss the house I don't know if all this is enough to fill what I lack." Helena reread those lines countless times, feeling on paper the pain of the girl she had created as a daughter. The great city had given Camilla the dreams of yore, but also the memory of everything she left behind. Over time, Camilla was increasingly involved in an environment of ostentation and appearances. At the same time, he never got rid of the uncomfortable feeling that he had not belonged to that half, nor to the village. In the midst of flashy festivals, social encounters full of brightness and refinement, Camilla tried to maintain a successful facade. But with each celebration, Helena's nostalgia and the pendant around her neck recalling her who she had been from and where she had come. One night when he lay in his elegant apartment, he looked out the window to the pulsating lights of the metropolis. He touched the necklace Helena had given her, and silent tears rolled. Who was she now and who wanted to be? In the village, Helena prayed for Camilla's happiness. Between one sow and another, he thought of how the girl was living, and if she would ever decide to return, even if it was just to visit. The love that nourished for the girl was unshakable, and the hope of a reunion grew in the chest, silent but firm. The stations succeeded. Camilla, even more attractive and used to the spotlight, caught the attention of Raphael, a heir businessman. They met in a sophisticated event, dancing to the sound of an orchestra. The looks connected, and something there seemed magnetic. Raphael was the portrait of all that Camilla had dreamed. Successful, self-safe, and influential. It seemed to be the chance to climb another step in the social position that had longed for. Between expensive gifts and stunning trips, the relationship progressed quickly. In a short time, Camilla was involved with body and soul in Raphael's luxurious routine. The diamond ring he offered was a symbol of commitment and power. "You brought color to my life," he said, putting the ring on his finger. "I would like to repay all this happiness." The marriage proposal came next, without Camilla could even recover from the surprise. "Marry me," invited Raphael with evident sincerity. Feeling his heart vibrating with enthusiasm and fear, Camilla accepted. The marriage was a great solemnity, worthy of a contemporary fairy tale. Camilla was radiant, covered by an impeccable dress that enhanced her beauty, surrounded by elegant guests. Amid so many flashes and greetings, the bride kept thinking about Helena. Would the creation mother, in that simple little house, approve all that? But behind the brightness, doubt it. Was it really happy? Or just moved in the dream that once seemed unreachable? Over the days, these questions sprouted more often. Camilla lived in a world of refinement, but at times she could only remember Helena's modest garden, the conversations around the small table, the quiet afternoons sewing and teaching ABC. The price to pay for success was still high, and uncertainties accumulated. Deep down, she feared she left behind what really mattered. And so, as he adjusted to the life of a newlywed, Camilla sought a way to reconcile her past and present, to understand her own identity. The emptiness he felt, however, only intensified, whispering that something was still missing. Raphael began building a luxury resort in land near a small village. The project promised to generate major profits and was considered the new jewel of its investment portfolio. During this time, Raphael began to explore the surroundings, wishing to know the region and the people who lived there. In one of his car rides, he eventually reached a village that, coincidentally, was not far from the place where Helena lived. Walking around the modest square, admired residents going and coming in their peaceful routine. The spontaneity and simplicity of those inhabitants captivated him, as a breath of fresh air in the lives of endless meetings and business goals. It was then that he spotted a quiet-looking woman taking care of a flower bed in front of a simple house. It was Helena, who raised her head as she realized her approach. Raphael smiled. "Good afternoon. There is a beautiful garden here." "Good afternoon. Thank you," she said, with a kind smile. "Taking care of the flowers brings me a certain peace of mind." They started talking. From the subject of the garden jumped to the village routine and then to more personal aspects. Helena spoke with a serenity that impressed Raphael, who was looking for something that was not sure what it was, but that, at that moment, seemed to find in those words paused. "I'm working on a resort project nearby," he said. "I want you to bring benefits to the region, but sometimes I wonder if all this progress does not affect the essence of the place." Helena tilted her head, as if she could see beyond what he said. "Sometimes pursuing advances without reflecting makes us lose what is most important: humanity, simplicity." Over the weeks, Raphael's curiosity over Helena grew. He came to visit her frequently, justifying herself with questions about the village and the region. But in fact, he sought in this environment and that woman a kind of tranquility that did not find in her luxurious circle. Once, noticing the necklace Helena wore, Raphael remembered something familiar. That piece had a drawing very similar to the pendant Camilla used to show off at dinners. The coincidence worries him, although he was still not sure what he meant. "This necklace is beautiful," he said, intrigued. "Do you have any sentimental value?" Helena held the pendant, thoughtful. "Yes, it's a memory. I got someone very special and remember never losing faith in love." Hearing this, Raphael began to suspect a possible connection between Helena and Camilla. He decided to investigate more, for an inner voice told him that those similarities were not mere chance. At the same time, he felt divided between the nascent affection by Helena, platonic or not, and the commitment to Camilla, realized that she needed to discover the truth. The ties between Helena and Raphael strengthened quickly. They shared long conversations about life choices and what really mattered. And the more time Raphael spent there, the more he realized that Helena kept a secret related to Camilla. The puzzle pieces seemed to be before him, just missing someone to fit them. On a melancholy afternoon, Raphael finally questioned Helena more directly. "You seem to know the challenges of someone who left the house to live in another environment. Have you welcomed someone like that?" Helena stared at him for a moment. In his countenance there was sadness and resignation. "I welcomed, yes. A few years ago I took care of a little girl who appeared here alone, lost, a girl named Camilla. It was like a daughter to me." Raphael's heart shot. I was sure to be talking about the same Camilla who had become his wife. "So, she murmured, without finding the words. "I know she grew up. She left in search of something better." Helena continued, with a distant look. "I just want you to be happy." Raphael was astonished. This confirmed his suspicions and at the same time generated a flood of feelings of betrayal, curiosity, desire to understand why Camilla had never mentioned Helena. After a few more minutes of conversation, he said goodbye, still stunned, and promised to return. While returning to the capital, Raphael thought about the consequences of that revelation. He needed to confront Camilla, but she also feared hurting her. At the same time, he was wrong. Why would she hide something so important? In the following weeks, Raphael balanced his commitments, the desire to help Helena and the uncertainties about what to say to his wife. Finally, he could no longer postpone. He waited for nightfall when the city was relatively calm. Camilla was flipping through a fashion magazine in the room when Raphael sat next to her. A tension-laden face. "We need to talk." Her voice sounded tense and low. Camilla closed the magazine, turning to him. "Of course. Did something happen?" Raphael inspired deeply, trying to organize thoughts. "I was in that village again and met Helena. She told me about her past. And yours." Camilla's expression turned into a second. "What exactly did she tell you?" "She told me that you were welcomed by her as a child, who had a difficult life before coming to town. You hid me this. Why?" Raphael's voice was tense, with a hurt. Camilla got pale, her eyes afflicted, her heart resounding in her chest. "Did you?" Spoke to Helena. I didn't want people to judge me for the past. I was afraid that you wouldn't accept me." Raphael looked away, fighting the feeling of being deceived. "It's like I didn't really know you. Sincerity is the basis of any relationship, Camilla." She held her husband's hand, tears contained in her eyes. "Raphael, I'm sorry. I did what I did out of shame and fear, not for evil. I thought that if I revealed my humble origins, I could lose everything I have achieved." Even upset, Raphael still nourished love for Camilla, exhaled the contained air. "I need time to digest all this. Understanding that the person with whom I got married secrets about oneself is painful." Camilla's eyes filled with tears. "I love you, Raphael. I promise it was never my intention to hurt you. Just, I didn't know how to talk about the past." The silence between them was heavy, full of unnamed meanings. Camilla's story was there, wide open, and there was no return. Raphael got up, running his hand through his hair. "I'll need to reflect. It is not just about forgiving or not, but of understanding how we move on." Camilla shook her head in consent, the embargoed voice. "I understand. Do whatever it takes. But please don't forget that I love you, and I don't want to lose you." In this way, the truth tore the veil that separated Camilla from his past. They knew that from then on, the relationship depended on a long process of understanding and reconciliation. Raphael left that night to lighten his mind, and Camilla was alone, taken by the fear that she would finally pay the price for all the choices she had made in life. The passing of the days weighed on everyone's conscience. Raphael, still dismayed, felt that he needed to understand every detail of the connection between Helena and Camilla. He tried to reconcile the pain of being deceived with the affection he nourished by his wife and the newborn admiration he felt for Helena. Eventually returned to the village, I needed to listen to Helena once again. Upon arriving, he found her in the same garden, but there was something different in the air. Helena was shot down, pale. He had taken an infection that had worsened in a few days. Even so, she allowed him to enter. "I'm sorry to see her like this," said Raphael, the embargoed voice of concern. "I wanted to talk, but I didn't know I was sick." "Don't worry, you can stay," Helena replied, with a voice. "If you came by answers, I'm here." Raphael sat next to her on the old room sofa. Carefully, Helena told more details of how Camilla had found, how her life had been before the young woman left. Finally, Raphael got up. "I understood. Thanks for the honesty. I feel that now makes sense, all the fear of Camilla, but I regret it hidden it from me." Helena weakened. She extended her trembling hand, as if she wanted to comfort him. "I hope you can forgive her. She acted out of fear, not for evil. Life taught Camilla to protect herself from her own wounds." Raphael agreed in silence. At that moment, Helena's fragility seemed to symbolize the weight of everything that had happened. Still, he carried a hope that it was possible to fix things. In the following days, Helena's health worsened. The village community mobilized to take care of her, but it was clear that she approached a final chapter. When the news arrived in town, Camilla was taken by terrible panic. Between the shame of facing the past and gratitude for Helena, she won the last one. He ran to the village, ignoring his sophisticated lifestyle, eager to see the mother of creation. He found Helena lying, weakened, but still lucid. Without hesitation, Camilla knelt beside the bed. "Mom, sorry for everything." Helena, with difficulty, smiled sweetly. "You came back, my girl. Good to see you." Camilla held the icy hand of Helena, abundant tears dripping. I love you. I wish I had been more sincere, but I was afraid. I hope you can forgive me." Helena closed her eyes, as if keeping a rest of energy to speak. "No, there is what to forgive. I loved you. From the moment I found her, I took care of you the way I could. Now, you need to find your own happiness." Raphael, who had then witnessed the scene with a tight heart. He approached slowly. "Helena, I'm sorry for all the suffering you went through. Thank you for welcoming Camilla." She looked back at him, smiling. "Take care of her. She has a good heart, only sometimes you get lost in fear." Helena's breathing became weak until, with one last breath, she left in peace. Camilla and Raphael were beside, united by pain, feeling the magnitude of this end and everything Helena represented. Tears, longing, gratitude, and repentance mingled, giving a solemn air to that farewell. Helena's departure profoundly marked the life of Camilla and Raphael. As they bury the maternal figure that so many teachings had left, the couple began a sincere reflection. The grief served as a catalyst for the changes they knew to be needed. In the following months, Camilla radically transformed her life perspective. The emptiness that once tried to fill with status and wealth was being occupied by a genuine yearning to do something significant. She and Raphael took the first step together. They created a social project to assist vulnerable young people, inspired by Helena's compassion. The return to the village was inevitable. There, they installed a charity foundation named Helena, focusing on education and temporary shelter for abandoned children. Camilla felt that this was the best way to honor the memory of the mother who had loved her so much. Raphael, in turn, found a true sense of putting part of his fortune in the service of those who needed, instead of just accumulating more goods. With each project completed, with each young man attended, Camilla and Raphael found new courage to continue. Gradually, their relationship has strengthened on a more solid basis: confidence, sincerity, and partnership. The wound of the past had become a scar that served as a reminder about the value of transparency and forgiveness. Years later, on a radiant afternoon, the village was celebrating. The foundation promoted a celebration in honor of the advances made. Camilla and Raphael traveled the place, watching smiles and hugs. In every look of hope, Camilla recognized a little of the lonely girl who had been one day. In every extended hand, Raphael felt the purpose he didn't even know he was looking for before he met Helena. "She would be proud of us," Camilla commented, the lost look in the children running through the courtyard. "No doubt. Raphael agreed, hugging her by the shoulders. And it's a pride that we should feel too. The love Helena taught us lives here, in these people. Camilla, touching her pendant around her neck, smiled with a tip of excitement. Helena gave me everything I needed to become who I am now. I just hope to spread this same love as many people as possible. Raphael kissed her forehead, supportive. There was no grudge or resentment anymore, just the certainty that life is made of twists, secrets, and especially opportunities for fresh start. In the end, Helena's memory became the compass that guided them with each choice, and proof that love, compassion, and truth can come from the greatest pain. There, in that simple village, Helena's legacy perpetuated each other in every flowering plant, every child who received help, and in every hug Camilla and Raphael gave people. And in the silence of that late afternoon, they felt that somehow Helena was there, smiling, proud of the seed she had planted, and now germinating in so many lives.